The truth about IBS triggers is this. There tends to be two levels of triggers. There are the surface level, they're the ones that you'll notice the most. And then there are the deeper triggers that we're really interested in for IBS recovery. So what are some of the surface triggers you will be noticing? Well, first of all, foods that trigger directly your IBS symptoms that you see the cause and effect. There may be foods, there may be drinks. Essentially, they will be things that you encounter every day. The secondary level, the deeper level of IBS triggers are the things that are happening all the time, but that you're not generally aware of. I'll give you an example. When my IBS started, I was on my year abroad. I was studying languages, including French, and I was on my year abroad in a French school. I also lived in the school, and at the weekends, I was alone in the school. There were no phones, there were no televisions to speak of, so it was quite a challenging time. Now, the first symptoms I got were about 6 months in, and they came after a bout of gastroenteritis, or what seemed like a bout of gastroenteritis. So I was eating a lot of new food because I was in France. So I concluded that it was the food I was eating that was making the difference. However, looking back, there was a lot more to that situation than meets the eye. It took me a long time to realize that even on the surface, there was maybe food differences, that there were also cultural differences, and essentially how I felt in that situation. I was in a situation that wasn't desperate by any means. It wasn't a war. It wasn't anything really horrible. And yet that situation put together a lot of the things that I was not digesting in my life at a lower level. Things like being on my own all the time. Things like, because when everyone went home at the weekend, there was absolutely no one in that school. I had the key, I could get out, I could get in, and I was totally alone for the weekend. I couldn't see anybody in the school at that time, and outside the school, well, people were getting on with their usual lives. So it was difficult to make contact and make friends during that time. That was just one of the deeper currents that was going on. So while I thought it was surface things like the food, I actually had this deep loneliness that was part of things I wasn't digesting in my life. And it was an experience I'd had in other situations too. Another part of that whole year abroad thing was I got the best mark. My first choice was to be in a city I'd chosen, in a ski resort, so I could do skiing and enjoy myself, and in the middle of the hubbub of the city and, you know, everything that goes on in a city. And I found myself in the middle of nowhere in a little village, 2 hours by coach from anywhere, with a very small population, surrounded by nature, but you know, it was such a huge difference. And I actually was livid that I'd been sent to a place like this in the middle of nowhere, whereas I got the best mark in my university for the interview. And even I didn't get my first choice, I didn't get my second choice, I didn't get my third choice, I didn't get any of my choices. Whereas other people in my university that got the worst mark at the interview, well, they got what they wanted, and they were one of my choices. And that just stayed there. It just stayed there in my system. So this is what I'm talking about, these deeper IBS triggers, these things that we haven't digested yet, these things that don't seem that causes pain in some ways. That particular one it didn't seem fair. But as everybody is different, your IBS triggers, the deeper ones, will be unique to you. So what I'm saying here about the lonely part, about the unfair part, may ring a bell, but for you, they may be totally different, and that's okay. What is important is to become conscious of them slowly but surely. So at least now you know what you're looking for. This may take some time. It's something I help people with a lot because I see people's IBS triggers very easily now. It's become one of my superpowers. So probably because I was looking for for so long. So, you may need help with this, and if that's the case, that's fine. But that gives you something to go on today. So I hope you start looking for them.